What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be going over how you can do better in zero build endgame. I have several other videos talking about how to win fights in zero builds or just various mistakes you might be making. So check my channel if you want more specific tips on fighting. But today's video is going to be all about endgame and how you want to position and how you want to play the endgame so that you can get more wins in the zero build mode. If you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and comment down below what you think of the zero build mode now that we've had it for a full season. Are you still loving this game mode? Were you someone who initially disliked it and it grew on you? Let me know in the comments below what you think of the zero build game mode in Fortnite. So the first thing we're going to talk about, and this is going to be the biggest mistake I see people making in the zero build mode or just in Fortnite in general, but I see it more in zero builds than normals, is going to be that they play to not lose rather than playing to win. And I know that sounds super obvious, like duh, if you want to win, play to win. But there's so many people I encounter in game who get second place to me or end up getting third place. I kill them in the end game where they just weren't doing anything at all. They're just hiding and they were magically hoping that like somehow they would end up accidentally getting a win. And there can be times where hiding is actually effective in the zero build mode, but if it's down to a 1v1 and you have one guy controlling a mountaintop and you have the other player just hiding in a bush that's soon going to be forced out of zone, it's pretty obvious that the person just camping in the bush is going to lose. Like, if you're playing to just not lose, you're not going to be forcing your advantages, and it's really just going to come down to whether your opponent messes up or not. Whereas, like, if you put yourself in positions to actually win, and you play to actually win, and you play to punish your opponents, then you're going to be able to take the win from them and not just rely on them throwing to win. So, a lot of people hide way too much in this game mode and play, like, way too passive, and they're way too scared to do anything. And that ends up making them lose. And I feel like it also stalls your progression so much. If you're someone who consistently hides to get to like second or third and you never fight anybody, that first fight you get is often the one where you just die at the end, then you're not actually getting better. You might be better off just getting in more fights, maybe getting 50th place sometimes, maybe getting 70th, maybe every now and then getting a win. But the more fights you get in, the better you're going to be in the long run. And that's going to benefit you so much in the end game, because if you're not comfortable fighting and you're not comfortable with the other aspects of the game, it's very likely you're just going to mess up when it comes to end game. So step one is just going to be to be comfortable fighting and to actually play to win. If you aren't comfortable fighting, then I don't really think there's much of a point in playing for end game. And that's kind of where BRs become like confusing for a lot of people, because they get on with the intention to win and they end up playing really passive, and then because of that they never improve and then they're never able to win, and it just is like a whole like self-fulfilling prophecy. So play to win your games, don't play just to not lose, and that shift in mindset will be I think a huge difference maker. And when it comes to zero build, the most important thing in game is just going to be controlling the power positions. Whatever the best spot to be is in zone, whoever controls it is typically going to be the player that wins, because there's not too much to it other than that. Like, whoever has the best spot in zone is going to be able to win a lot of AR fights really easily versus the other players who don't have that spot, and then that's going to end up getting them the win. Like, zero build plays more off positioning, I feel like, than anything else. Like, aim is important, yes, but if you had good positioning and good cover and you're constantly putting yourself in good spots, it's not going to matter how good or bad your aim is. You're just going to win that fight before it even starts. So whatever the power position is in zone, if there's only like one building in zone, controlling that roof could be beneficial. If there's a mountaintop in zone, controlling that could be beneficial. If there's one area that has like a bunch of rocks or something, and then the rest of the zone is just wide open, then that spot's going to be good to be. And if you just have a zone that's wide open and there's no cover at all, cow catchers can actually be really good for that sort of thing. Cow catchers, you can throw them on the ground, and then they can be used as cover wherever you want to throw them. But yeah, you're just going to want to control whatever is the most important spot in zone. And maybe determining that could be difficult for some of you, but if you've played zero build for a while, it's probably pretty easy for you to determine what the best spot to be is in zone. And on top of everything I just laid out with like the spots that have cover, the spots that have high ground, maybe the spots that cut off a rotation well, spots on the edge of zone are typically going to be better. This isn't always the case, because you might have a zone that's just a straight mountain and like the middle of the mountain is zone and like the edges are just the low ground. Like, obviously you would want to be top of the mountain there, but if you have like a good spot in zone that has like high ground and good cover and it's also on the edge, this is incredibly helpful, because then you're not going to have to worry about one angle after a zone is closed for a while, you know? If you have zone at your back and it's been closed for like 40 seconds, odds are somebody isn't going to come from there, and then you have to worry about less area, pretty much only the area in front of you. if you're someone who is in center of zone, like let's say there's a house in center of zone, you have to worry about all 360 degrees, and then you won't really be able to use that roof to your advantage as much as you would like, because you might just end up getting shot in the back. And that is going to be one huge thing in the zero build game mode. I know I said before that you want to play to win and not to just not lose, but you need to be mindful of how much you're shooting, because a lot of people in this game mode just hide, and they don't do anything other than just hide. And if you're shooting at literally everything you see in zone, they're going to eventually stop hiding and third party you. So you want to be somewhat mindful of how much you're shooting. You don't want to make yourself the main target for like everybody in the lobby to focus. And then that is weird, and there's like a weird balancing act to it, and it's kind of hard to explain. But if you're doing too much and drawing way too much attention to yourself, you will end up getting third-partied. There's a lot of really annoying items in the game right now that would make it really easy for somebody to third-party you, like a sniper, the railgun, the anvil rocket launcher. These are weapons where someone can be like really just them hiding, getting the element of surprise on you can allow them to do massive damage to you, and that could like end up making you lose the game even though you were playing correct. So be mindful of how much you're shooting, and try to be mindful of how many people are left alive in zone, and like where you know people are or aren't, just based on like what information you have from that game. This is something I do a lot on stream. I stream every day on Twitch. It'll be linked down in the description below. But when I'm in game, I'm pretty much always talking about like how many people are left alive, and I know where like 2 or 3 are, so I'm only looking for one player that I don't know about, and then he might be in this spot. You just got to constantly keep in your mind like which players you've seen, which skin they are is actually beneficial for tracking them and keeping track of who's who, but like which players you've seen out of how many are remaining and where you've seen those players. And if you've seen all but one player and there's just one spot of zone that you haven't seen anybody at all, and there's like bushes over there, odds are he's hiding there. So just keep that in mind. If how many people are left alive will really dictate how you want to play the game. You know, if there's only 2 people left alive and you've shot at both of them and they're near each other and they're fighting, you don't need to worry about getting third party. You can be the third party in that situation. You might want to end up playing it more aggressive. Like how many people are left alive, especially in solos, is going to change so much of how you want to play the game. And the less unknowns you have, or the less question marks you have of like how many people there are left, or which players you haven't seen at all, like the easier it is going to be for you to like play that game out and win that fight. So yeah. And I know I said you want to be edge before, and that can get difficult because if you have a spot that's in zone and you're edge already and zone moves, odds are you're not going to get next zone. And that's where shockwaves are incredibly good, because you can go from one position of advantage just to shockwave immediately to the next position of advantage and make your life much easier. Shockwaves are incredibly valuable for so many reasons in the zero build mode. If you've seen my other videos, I'm sure you've seen me talk about it, but I would highly recommend carrying shockwaves. I think they're incredibly good. You want shockwaves. It makes rotating much easier. If the last 2 people are fighting, you can shockwave to a spot where you can third party them. It's a 1v1 and you tag someone for like 150 with your AR, you can shockwave onto him and get that finish easily. If there is a mountain in zone and you don't control it, you can shockwave up and then throw one at the other person and shockwave them off the mountain. There's just so many things that you can do with shockwaves. So I would highly recommend using shockwaves, carrying shockwaves. You can also throw them into bushes, and if there's anybody in the bush, it will destroy the bush. So shockwaves, I like cannot speak enough about how insanely good I think shockwaves are. In addition to like everything I just talked about, if there's a tank or a battle bus in zone or like in end game, it gets really scuffed. And what I try to do if I see a tank or a battle bus at any point during the game, if I'm not going to be able to kill the person out of it, I try to either pop the tires of the battle bus or destroy the treads of the tank. That way it's less likely it makes it to end game, because if you have a good spot in game and like a battle bus just rolls up on you and runs you over, there's really not much you can do. The tank and the battle bus just ruin the game so much. So if you are able to grief them earlier on in the game, that is definitely going to benefit you, and griefing their tires or treads will definitely do that. A lot of people will just give up on using it entirely once you destroy the tires or the treads. So that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you found it helpful or informative. Zero build in game is pretty simple. There's not much to it because of just the way this game mode is. Pretty much all you have to do is put yourself in the right spot and don't draw too much attention to yourself, and just pick people off over time, and you will get the easy win in the zero build mode. And if you've watched any zero build competitive, that's typically the way it goes as well. The team that's in the best spot is able to just mop up so many kills. And that's the biggest thing in the game mode, is just controlling the power position. So I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what you think of the zero build game mode, and if there's anything you would like to see me cover in a video, comment that down below as well, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.